Hi, this is Tony Daly, and tonight we're going to take a look at Netflix, and we're going to look at an Iron Condor position that we have on Netflix that we may have to adjust. So tonight is all about adjustments, so fasten your seatbelts. Taking a look at the daily chart on Netflix, you see this wedge that's forming, and it was just curling and curling, and it seems to be coming to an apex right here, and it's either going to resolve itself or bounce, and we're not quite sure, but these things usually will break out, and my guess is it could very well break out in the direction of the wedge. So looks like we have some upside risk today on the 30-minute chart. We finished our last candle, basically finished almost at its high, and it was on some pretty good volume. So this flag pattern seems to be breaking to the upside also. So it looks like Netflix wants to go higher. Aside from what you think of valuations and everything, it just looks to go higher. Here's our position. And we have currently an Iron Condor. We have 5 of them. And we have the December 360, 370 calls, and we have the 300, 310 puts. And here is our T line, and you can see we're getting pressure to the upside. Here is our expiration break even, and here is our position right now, showing roughly about $300 to the downside. And we have our deltas are minus 30 right here, and this is our trouble right here, is our deltas are much too high. We have to reduce these deltas, and we have to reduce them by half to 2/3. So that's the goal. Now the trick to adjusting is there's several ways to do that. Depending on how much time you have to expiration will be one of the guiding principles that you'll take into account. So with that in mind, we're looking at a December expiration, which is on December 20th. So we have 20 days plus whatever's left, plus another week in November. So we have enough time for any adjustment we put on to work. So let's take a look at some of the different ways that we could accomplish this thing. One of the things we have to decide is we want to protect against the upside. But the question is do we really want to commit more money to this trade? That's the first question you got to answer. So I try to avoid committing any more money into the trade, but it depends on my outlook, and it depends on how much profit I have in the position, or what my profit target is, because any type of hedge that you put on or adjustments will have an adverse effect on your max gain. That's the whole purpose of it. But not doing it, gives you a lot of risk to the bad side, all the way up to your max loss. So the idea is you want to adjust when you can, not when you have to. So right now we could adjust when we can. We still have some room. I don't know if it'll ever get to 360, or it could get to 360 tomorrow, but I don't want to be looking to adjust this thing at 360 tomorrow. So one of the things I know we could do is, the first thing you look at is I could buy a call, which will change the risk graph, and I've already put one over here. I've put one out here at the 380. If we bought one of the 380 calls, let's take a look. If we put that on, what happens to the risk graph? Now notice our deltas come down about 2/3, which is perfect. The call would cost me $385, so I have to take that into account to the total credit that I've received. But notice how it flattens out the T line, and it really helps me out if this thing continues to go to the upside. So if I believe that this is going to make a significantly big move to the upside and continue on, this is probably one of the trades I should consider. So keep in mind this would cost $385 to put on. So let's take this one off. Now the easiest one to put on would be just basically to reduce contracts from the high side. So I could basically just take off several contracts. Let's take off 3. That's too many. Let's take off If we take off 2 contracts, I drop down to -9 deltas, which is perfect. I've really lessened my upside risk. Look at how the expiration graph has dramatically changed. And my T-line, you can see the slope of my T-line, and while I still have significant risk to the upside, I don't have anywhere near the amount of risk that I had before if I don't do the adjustment. The bad thing is that I am going to lock in a loss on 2 contracts. So I have to figure out exactly what that is to see if that's worthwhile. So how could I do that? Well, I could look at the current price of it. This $1.86 was the credit that I received. So I have to note that. And if I take this lock off, I could see it's currently trading for $3.25. So let me go back to $1.80. And $3.25 minus 180 equals $1.45. So I'm going to lose 145 times 2 contracts. It would cost me $290 to take off 2 contracts. So I could basically take a loss of 290. My profit target, my total margin on this position is $6,000, and my profit target is generally around 10%. So that's about $600, and I would take off $290 off of that. So my profit target on 10% would really half that to $300. But I can see how that goes depending on how the position continues. If it continues to the upside, I probably would consider, going to a second adjustment. If it started to move back the other way, then my position would improve, and I would go back more towards the middle, and I would still be able to looking at a potential of $1,750 on this trade. So anyway, those are the two basic ones. Then there's one more that you can do, is that you can actually take your upper bear call and turn it into a butterfly. And now notice, a bear call is, right now we have -5 of the 360s and +5 of the 370s. To butterfly this, all we really need to do is to put on a vertical, buying 5 of the 350s and selling 5 of the 360s. So by doing that, what we basically have done, and let me show you because this would be gone, is we have basically butterflied this trade. So you see how you can do that. Now, of course, you have to pay for that vertical. So that vertical would basically be a debit of $4.18. So you'd be committing a fair amount of money into this trade to turn it into a butterfly, but you certainly could do it. And this is what the risk graph would be of the entire trade. Now you would want this to go up to the middle of the strike, which would be 360. Whereas before, that's your break even. You don't want it to go to 360. Here you would want it to go to 360. So you have to have a bullish bias to put this on. So my guess is that what I will be looking to do tomorrow, depending on where we're at, is I would be looking to take two of these off. So that would bring my position from 5 down to 3. I would take a $290 loss on those 2, but I would significantly be reducing my risk to the upside and dropping my deltas right where they need them to be. That's about it, and that's just one of the things that you have to think about when you're looking to adjust. There are other things you can do, and for example, sometimes you can close out this and move this up. So basically what you're doing is you're rolling the good side up, and you could also roll the bad side up. So by rolling, which is an obvious way, it's also fairly expensive to do, what you're doing is you're basically repositioning your iron condor, and in some cases extending duration also. So you're giving duration time to work. So that's also very viable, and that'll be the subject of my next video on rolling, because it is a little bit involved, and I'll show you the different ways you can do it. So hope this helps, and thanks a lot for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.